Today we're going to talk about sailing theory, kind of what it is and how we can use it to our benefit when we're out on the water actually sailing. This isn't my idea, but someone told me, and I feel like it tracks with kind of my experience being an instructor, is most people when they come in to learn how to sail, we have a tendency to either be kind of more intellectual in our approach of how we learn versus more intuitive. So the sailing theory that we're going to talk about today is definitely more kind of on the intellectual side, the textbook side of, okay, what's actually happening in the boat? What's happening that's allowing the boat to do what we're doing? Versus, I've had people who come in and don't have a very good grasp kind of intellectually of the physics of what's actually happening in the boat, but then they get on the boat and they just naturally have this, oh, the boat's kind of doing this, and I understand I kind of want to respond by doing this. They just have a really innate sense of, okay, how do I sail the boat? So everyone I feel like kind of tends to lean one way or another, kind of on that spectrum, intellectual learning versus intuitive learning when it comes to sailing. But what I strongly feel is true is that the best sailors are people who develop both of those skills. So regardless of whether you're more intuitive or more intellectual, the best thing you can do is kind of try to round out and develop a really holistic sailing profile, if you will. So what we're going to talk about today is kind of the intellectual side of things, which I think is good to know. But nothing is going to beat being in the boat and actually putting this into practice. It's a lot easier to sit in the classroom and say, yeah, you would pull in the sail to stop it luffing, or I think I would tack right there. Versus when you're in the boat and everything's happening quickly and the wind is strong and the boat's heeling over, there's lots of different skills we need to develop. So this is just going to be kind of one piece of that puzzle. Let's say there's a parking lot and there's a trash bag in the parking lot and the wind is blowing in that direction. What direction is the trash bag going to blow? Is it going to blow to the right or to the left? Trash bag should blow to the right. It's going to blow in the same direction that the wind is blowing, in the same direction the wind is pushing it. So this is a little bit of a generalization, but this is kind of an example of how the original kind of old-fashioned sailboats used to work. They only could sail, or they only roughly could sail, in the direction the wind was pushing them. They couldn't sail into the wind. They only could sail in the direction that the wind was pushing the boat. So a practical application of that, let's say you were in California and you wanted to sail from California to Hawaii. Our trade winds throughout kind of the majority of the year, and the summer in particular, kind of come from the northeast. So if you were in one of these original sailboats, you would have no issue sailing from California to Hawaii because the wind is pushing you, it's pushing the boat in the same direction that you want to go. But if you got to Hawaii and you turned around and you wanted to sail back in the direction you came, you wouldn't be able to because you can't sail into the wind. So you would eventually, what you would have to do if you want to get back to California is you'd have to keep following the wind in a big circle until eventually you got back to your destination. So not a very efficient way to sail, only being able to sail where the wind is pushing you. But thankfully, because of our modern sailboat designs and also because of the way that our sails are designed in particular, in our modern sailboats, any of the boats that we have out on the dock, we can sail in the same direction the wind is blowing, but then if we wanted to, we could turn back around and sail back into the wind. So you could sail from California to Hawaii, turn around, and then basically sail back the direction that you came from. So we need to talk about what about our sails allows us to do that. I mean, it's kind of an amazing thing to think about that without any engine on the boat, just with this piece of sailcloth, just with our sails, we can sail back into the wind. So we need to talk about what exactly about the sails allows us to do that. So what I want us to do is, this is always the worst drawing. This is always the worst drawing that I do, so let's just take a look here. How bad we are today. Not awful. Okay, I want us to imagine the sails on our boats like airplane wings. So our sail is working just like an airplane wing. So think of it as we took an airplane wing, we ripped it off an airplane, stuck it straight up and down and put it on a boat. That is basically what our sails are. So in order to understand how our sails work, we have to understand how an airplane wing works. So if I draw a wing, it's going to look something like this. Bottom of the wing is going to be flatter. Top of the wing is going to have this curvature to it. Front of the wing is going to start kind of thicker, and then it's going to taper off near the end. So this is, if we're looking at an airplane wing from the side, the airplane is moving through the air like this, which means the air is going to hit the airplane wing from this direction. And what's going to happen? Well, the air is going to hit the wing, and some of the air is going to go on the bottom of the wing, some of the air is going to go on the top of the wing. Air is going to split. Whoops. Air is going to split. You're going to have some air coming on the bottom of the wing. Some of the air is going along the top of the wing. Now, the air going on the bottom of the wing is going to go slower relative to the air on the top of the wing, which is going to go faster. Now, why is that? The bottom of the wing is pretty flat, so there's not much impeding the movement of the airflow, so it's going to kind of continue, let's just say, relatively the same speed. Versus all of the air that's trying to go over the top of the wing, on top of the curvature, all that air is hitting that curve, and what's happening is the air then is getting compressed. And when it gets compressed, it accelerates. It's going to go faster. Just like your thumb on the end of a garden hose. You apply pressure and the water comes out faster. So air is going to go slower on the bottom. It's going to go faster on the top. Because of something called Bernoulli's principle, the faster the air moves, the lower the pressure. So you're going to have low pressure on the top of the wing, and you're going to have high pressure on the bottom of the wing. And because of this, that low pressure is going to create lift. So the lift is literally trying to suck the airplane wing up into the air. So like next time you take off from the airport and you're going down the runway, the airplane's accelerating, Right as the airplane starts to rotate up, you'll notice the very tips of the wings, which are the most flexible parts of the wing, you'll notice the tips of the wings actually start to flex upwards. And that's largely because there's a huge amount of lift being created at that moment when the airplane is taking off. That lift is literally trying to suck the airplane wing up into the air. I'm going to demonstrate really quick that concept of the fast-moving air over the top of the wing, creating low pressure, which then creates lift. So we're going to use this piece of paper, and I'm not going to blow air. I'm not going to blow any air on the bottom of the paper. Obviously, if I do that, the paper's going to rise up. So I'm not going to blow any air on the bottom of the paper. I'm only going to blow air over the top of the paper. So just like the airplane wing, I'm going to blow fast-moving air over the top of the wing. I'm going to blow fast-moving air over the top of the paper, which will create low pressure, which will create lift. That'll pull the paper up for just a second. That's just a kind of very clear and practical example of what we're talking about right now in the video. This is how our sails work. So let's connect the dots a little bit. If I draw a sailboat, okay, we're looking at a sailboat from above. There's our mast. There's our sail. Let's say the wind is coming from this direction. What side of the sail do you think the lift is being created on? The left side, the port side, or the right side, the starboard side? What side is the lift on? The lift is going to be on the starboard side of the sail in this instance. It's always going to be on the outside of the curve. So we have our wing. If I draw our sail inside the wing, there's the mast, and there's the sail. The sail has a similar curvature as the airplane wing. Obviously, our sail is made of sailcloth. It's not made of a rigid material like the airplane wing, but they have the exact same or very similar shape, that curve. And so the lift is always going to be on the outside of that curvature. So in this instance, the lift is on the starboard side. Granted, if the lift is on the starboard side, that means the lift is trying to literally pull the boat sideways in the water. But the boat's not going to go sideways, the boat's going to go straight. Any idea why the boat's not just going to slide sideways in the water? There's another part of the boat that's resisting that pull by the lift, and that would be the keel. So you have the lift trying to pull the boat in one direction, the keel is resisting that, and what you basically get is a watermelon seed being squeezed in between your fingers. And it's eventually going to shoot out the path of least resistance, which is forwards. So this is how our sails work like airplane wings to generate lift so that our sailboats can not only sail in the direction that the wind is blowing, like they always have been able to, but can also turn around and actually sail back into the wind, into the direction the wind is coming from. Okay, so now that we've talked about this, we're going to take kind of this concept that we've talked about lift, generating lift, getting the boat to move into the wind, and we're going to talk about points of sail, which points of sail is kind of just a really fancy way of saying directions I can and can't sail my boat. So let me draw this quick. All right, like I said, we're going to talk about points of sail, directions I can and cannot sail my boat. So first thing we need to know, always the most important question for us as sailors, is what direction is the wind coming from? So in this instance, the wind is coming from this direction. If the wind is coming from that direction, there's going to be this area that's about 90 degrees from one side to the other that we cannot sail inside. This is called the no sail zone. No sail zone. We cannot sail inside the boat. Inside the no sail zone. If you have your boat right here and you turn inside the no sail zone, what's going to happen is your sails are going to do something called luff. They're going to luff or they're luffing. If your sails are luffing, you turn inside the no sail zone, your sails start to luff. That means your sails are starting to flap like a flag on a flagpole. Instead of having that shape, that curvature that we just talked about to create lift, they start to flap like a flag on a flagpole. The sail's not creating lift and the boat is going to stop. So we cannot sail inside the no sail zone, but we can sail anywhere outside the no sail zone. So obviously there's hundreds of angles, there's hundreds of degrees from here all the way to the other side over here. But we've basically named the major points of sail so that it's really easy to reference and quickly reference them. So technically there's 5, but I've only drawn 3 right here. 1, 2, and 3. Technically there's another one right here and another one right here, but I'm going to skip drawing those right now because I want to try to keep this as clean as possible. And if we know these 3, if we can do everything we need to, we can figure out anything in between. So let's just quickly talk about these. This point of sail, this is called close hauled. Close hauled. And because this whole diagram is symmetrical, this is also close hauled. This point of sail is a beam reach, which means this is also a beam reach. And this point of sail is a run. Like I mentioned, the point of sail right here is actually called close reach, a close reach, and this one is called a broad reach. Now, I'm going to draw our sailboats on each one of these points of sail. If you're close hauled, we're going to talk about now where our sails need to be in relation to the boat. So our options are all the way out, halfway out, or all the way in. I want you to kind of think about close hauled, there's our mast, close hauled, close sail. We should have our sail basically sheeted in as much as we can, so it's going to be kind of over the center line of the boat. If you're on a beam reach, there's our mast, you're going to have your sail about halfway in and halfway out. If you're on a run, your sail is going to be all the way out. Okay, based on the little bit of information that we know so far, I want you to kind of think about which point of sail do you think is the fastest and the slowest of these 3. I'd say most people probably say a run is the fastest and close hauled is the slowest, when in reality, a run is slowest and a beam reach is fastest. A run is the only point of sail where your sail is not working like an airplane wing. It's not creating any lift. It's just the blunt force of the air hitting the sail that's pushing the boat. Really slow, really inefficient, the same way that the original sailboats, if you will, sailed. They only could sail in the direction the wind was blowing. Versus every other point of sail, your sail is going to be creating lift like an airplane wing to actually pull the boat through the water. So if I draw the lift on both of these boats, you can actually see that on a close hauled course, the lift is doing a lot of pulling the boat sideways, or it wants to kind of pull the boat sideways. So your keel, your dagger board, or your centerboard underneath the boat is having to resist that in order to make the boat go straight. So there's going to be a lot of drag when you're trying to sail close hauled. Versus when you're on a beam reach, the lift is already trying to pull the boat in the direction roughly that it wants to go. So the keel, dagger board, centerboard is not having to resist that lift force as much. There's not as much drag and the boat is going to go faster. like I said, we cannot sail inside the no sail zone. If we turn inside the no sail zone, our sails are going to luff, the boat's going to stop moving. So we can't sail inside the no sail zone, but we can sail anywhere outside the no sail zone. Doesn't matter where, we can sail anywhere outside the no sail zone. So let's say we're on a beam reach, and I give us that destination. Is that destination inside or outside of the no sail zone? That's going to be outside the no sail zone. If your destination is ever outside the no sail zone, doesn't matter where it is. If it's outside the no sail zone, all we have to do is turn the boat where we want to go. So that's what we do. That's our destination. It's outside the no sail zone. We turn the boat where we want to go. What do you think we do with the sails in this instance? We've turned from here to here. You're probably going to have to pull your sails in a little bit. If we think about, okay, close hauled is all the way in, beam reach is halfway out. If I'm turning a little bit up towards close hauled, I'm probably going to need to bring my sail in. But let's say you don't do that. I give you a destination. It's outside the no sail zone. Perfect. We just aim exactly where we want to go. If you don't touch your sails at all, your sails are going to start to luff. Your sails are going to start to flap like a flag on a flagpole, which is kind of like an alarm bell going off. That's letting you know something is wrong. If your sails are ever luffing, something's wrong. We need to adjust something to make them stop. So it's outside the no sail zone. You aim the boat where you want to go. If you don't touch your sail starts to luff. How do we fix that? By pulling the sail in, sheeting in. You're going to start to sheet in. You're sheeting in the sail. You're sheeting in the sail. As soon as the sail stops luffing, that's exactly where your sail needs to be. So much of sailing and so much of becoming a really good and proficient sailor is going to be developing our skill, developing our ability to be really precise in the boat. How we're steering the boat, how we're adjusting the sails, how we're planning what we want to do. So we're always trying to be as precise as possible. We want to figure out exactly where our sail needs to be. Let's say I give us this destination. We're still on a beam reach. I give us that destination. Is that inside or outside of the no sail zone? It's going to be outside the no sail zone. So same thing. I can aim the boat exactly where I want to go. Boom. What do you think I have to do with my sails? I probably have to let my sails out a little bit because now I'm turning in between a beam reach and a run. So I'm probably going to have to ease my sails out a little bit. But once again, let's say you don't do that. Let's say you leave your sails exactly where they're at. Our destination, it's outside the no sail zone. You turn the boat exactly where you want to go. Perfect. You don't touch your sails. You look up at your sails. Your sails are not going to be luffing. So in this instance, it's really easy in this situation to think that everything is great because you're aiming exactly where you want to go. You look up at your sails are not luffing. But in reality, your sails are in too far. It's always going to be a lot easier to know if your sails are out too far because they're going to luff. It's a lot harder to tell if your sails are in too far because they're not going to luff. And when your sails are luffing, it's like a loud, obvious sign. Hey, something's wrong in the boat. We need to adjust. If your sails are ever out too far, they're luffing. How do we fix that? We fix it by pulling your sails in. It's a lot harder to know if your sails are in too far. So we have to use another tool in the boat. So I'm going to draw our sail real quick. And we're going to have to use this tool called telltales. So we have our sail. On either side of the sail, on the outside and the inside, there are going to be two pieces of string. And we want those two pieces of string to stream straight backwards. If they're streaming backwards, that means your sail is exactly where it needs to be. If I draw if I try to draw an airplane wing real quick down here, those telltales, we got our airplane wing, those telltales are on either side of the airplane wing. And they're basically letting us know, okay, is the air flowing over the wing correctly? Do we have good airflow over both sides of the wing? Do we have airflow over both sides of the sail? If so, your sail is in the right spot. So, back to this example. I give us a destination. It's outside the no sail zone. So all you have to do is turn the boat where you want to go. Boom. I look up at my sail. My sail is not luffing, but if I look at my telltales, one of your telltales is going to be streaming down, which immediately lets me know, okay, something's wrong. I have to adjust something. So if your sails are luffing, how do we fix that? We pull the sail in, we sheet in the sail. If one of your telltales is not streaming, if in doubt, let it out. We're gonna start to actually let the sail out. We're gonna go the opposite direction. You start to let your sail out. You start to let your sail out, you let your sail out. As soon as that telltale starts to stream backwards, that's exactly where your sail needs to be. So we are gonna use the telltales and your sail luffing to kind of always figure out exactly where your sail needs to be. We wanna be really, really precise. And it's kind of amazing how like even on million-dollar racing boats, sailboats, they still have telltales on their sail, either pieces of yarn or pieces of little like cloth. It's such a simple tool, it's such a basic tool, but it's communicating to us everything that we need to know about the boat, about the sail, about what the wind is doing. So a lot of sailing is going to be trying to get really good at understanding and reading the telltales and understanding what they're communicating to us. So, all right, so the two examples that we just talked about, each one, our destination was outside the no-sail zone. If your destination's ever outside the no-sail zone, remember, all we're doing is turning the boat where we want to go and adjusting our sails to either prevent the luffing or to get the telltales streaming. So if we come over here, I'm running out of space a little bit, but I'm going to erase this. Okay, so the very first thing that we have to know when we're sailing is where the wind is coming from. Everything else that we do from sailing flows first from that question, where's the wind coming from? The majority of people don't just innately have that skill where they walk outside and, oh, the wind is coming from that direction. But it's something that you will continue to develop the more that you sail. So the first question we ask ourselves, what direction is the wind coming from? The next question we ask ourselves, erase some of this. The next question we ask ourselves is, where's our destination? Where's our destination? Is our destination inside the no-sail zone, or is it outside the no-sail zone? If your destination is anywhere outside the no-sail zone, all we have to do is point the boat where we want to go. I'm going to say point the boat at our destination, and then we adjust the sails, I'm going to say to telltales. Adjust sails to telltales. This is what we just talked about. Anywhere outside the no-sail zone. Just aim the boat where you want to go, adjust your sails to get your telltale streaming. This is the easier of these two sides. It's much easier to sail towards a destination outside the no-sail zone than it is to sail towards a destination inside the no-sail zone. We're going to talk about that next. Okay, so let's say I give you a new destination, and I give you a destination right there. Is that inside or outside of the no-sail zone? It's going to be inside the no-sail zone, so we can't aim at it. If your destination's inside the no-sail zone, if we try to just point the boat where we want to go, you're going to be inside the no-sail zone, your sails are going to luff, flap like a flag on a flagpole, and the boat's going to stop moving. So we can't do that. Let's say we're down here on a beam reach. Sail's about halfway in and halfway out. I give us our destination. How do we get there? How do we get to our destination? We can't point exactly where we want to go. So the first thing we have to do is we have to find where close hauled is. Close hauled, remember, is as close to the no-sail zone as you can be without being inside of it. Finding close hauled is going to help you actually make forward progress towards your goal. So you're on a beam reach. I give us a destination. It's inside the no-sail zone. The very first thing we have to do, find close hauled. Some people, what they'll say, and if they have a little bit of sailing experience already and they're coming in to kind of, finesse their skills, and I say, okay, it's inside the no-sail zone, what's the first thing we do? They say, first thing you have to do is tack, which isn't always incorrect, but a lot of times what we see is, let's say you're on a beam reach, and you know your destination's inside the no-sail zone, so you're like, hey, I'm going to keep tacking until I get to my destination. What they do is they come over here, and they tack the boat, they turn all the way through the no-sail zone, and they come back the direction they came. They come over here, they tack the boat, they come back through. So they're tacking the boat a lot, but they're not making any forward progress. So yes, tacking, which if you don't know what tacking is yet, we're going to talk about it in a second, but tacking is part of the equation for getting upwind, but even maybe more importantly, we have to find close hauled. That's the only way you're going to make forward progress towards where you want to go. So our destination's inside the no sail zone. First thing we do is find close hauled. How do we do that? You're going to start to turn your boat where you want to go. So you're turning your boat upwind. What do you think you're doing with your sail at the same time? We're probably sheeting in. We're pulling our sails in all the way because we know if you're sailing close hauled, you want your sails in close. You want your sails in all the way. So you start to turn where you want to go. You're sheeting in your sails. You're sheeting in your sails all the way. As soon as you get close hauled right there, your telltales are going to start to stream. So there's a good chance as you're turning upwind, if you've sheeted in all the way, your sails probably, or your telltales probably aren't streaming. Your sails are sheeted in all the way as you're turning upwind. Telltales are not streaming, they're not streaming, they're not streaming. As soon as you find close hauled, boom! Both telltales start to stream. That is the direction you can sail your boat. What do you think happens if you do that? You're turning upwind, you're sheeting in your sail, you're sheeting in your sail all the way. You find close hauled, but then you turn a little bit too much. All right, now we're inside the no sail zone. What's going to happen to your sails? Sails are going to luff. They're going to start to luff. How do we fix that? Your sails are luffing. How do we fix it? We have to turn the boat outside of the no sail zone. You're going to pull the tiller towards you, which is going to turn the boat the opposite way. As soon as the sails stop luffing, that's close hauled. That's the direction you can sail your boat. So a quick aside, if your destination is outside the no sail zone and your sails are luffing, how do we fix that? We sheet in. If your destination is outside the no sail zone and your sails are luffing at all, we fix that by pulling the sail in. If your destination is inside the no sail zone and your sails are luffing, how do we fix that? We have to turn the boat. We have to turn the boat instead of sheeting in the sail because we know if you're sailing close hauled, you're right next to the no sail zone, your sails are already pulled in all the way, or they should be. You can't pull the sails in anymore, which means your sail's luffing, I can't pull the sails in anymore. That means we have to switch gears and now we're actually turning the boat instead of adjusting the sails. So generally speaking, what I tell people, if your sail is ever luffing, first thing you do is you try to sheet in. If you sheet in all the way or you can't sheet in anymore and your sail is still luffing, we switch gears. Now you're pulling the tiller towards yourself because you're basically inside the no sail zone and we're turning the boat outside of the no sail zone. Let's review. Destination is inside the no sail zone. First thing we do, we find close hauled. So you start to turn upwind, you're turning upwind, you're sheeting your sail in all the way, you're sheeting in all the way. As soon as your telltales stream, boom, that's close hauled. That's the direction you can sail your boat. Now, if you find close hauled, that's great, you stay on it, but now you're gonna keep sailing past your destination. You're never gonna get to it. So we have to do something called tacking. We're going to tack the boat, or we're tacking. Tacking means turning the boat from one side of the no sail zone to the other side. If you turn into the no sail zone and you turn back, that's not a tack. It's only a tack if you literally turn the boat all the way through the no sail zone. And because we know the no sail zone is 90 degrees, that means when you sail upwind, we can start to be really, really precise. I know I'm sailing close hauled, which means I know if I tack, the boat is going to tack 90 degrees, and I know what direction I'm going to start to sail my boat. So if I said you only could tack the boat once, if I said you only could tack once in order to get to your destination, which of these points would you tack at? 1, 2, or 3? You only can tack once in order to get to our destination. Most people say 2 because that makes sense, right? If I tack the boat, I'm 90 degrees from my destination, so if I tack, I should be able to aim exactly where I want to go. In reality, the correct answer is 3. The reason for that is because we're in a sailboat, even when we're sailing upwind, we're not on railroad tracks going perfectly straight. it's very common for the boat to actually kind of drift a little bit sideways as you're moving in whatever direction you want to go. So what could happen is you get to 90 degrees from your destination, you tack, perfect, you're aiming exactly where you want to go. But then as you start to sail towards it, the boat actually drifts a little bit downwind and you miss it. So generally speaking, you want to find close hauled, you're going to stay on it, you're going to sail until you're at 90 degrees from your destination, and then you're going to go past it a little bit. Then when you tack, even if the boat drifts downwind a little bit, you're going to be able to get to where you want to go. So first thing we do, we find close hauled. We stay close hauled, which is a challenge in of itself. And then we tack. Tack is necessary. Tack is necessary. A lot of people will ask, okay, you get to 90 degrees, how far past it do you need to go in order to tack and make it to where you want to go? That's a tricky question because it's going to depend on how strong the wind is and how fast the boat is moving. If the boat is moving really fast, you probably will only have to go past that 90-degree point a couple seconds, and then there'll be enough room. If there's not much wind and the boat's going really slowly, you might have to stay like that for 15 seconds. Generally speaking, though, let's see, if I draw our boat, you're going to be sitting on the opposite side of the sail. And what we tell people is if you're sitting on the opposite side of the sail, where you'll always be sitting, if you can look over your back shoulder and see your destination, that probably means you're in a safe area where you can tack and make it to where you want to go. So we do that. You get up towards 3, you tack 90 degrees, and now you can aim to where you want to go. Granted, it is very unrealistic in the real world that you are just going to find close hauled, sail upwind, and tack once and get to where you want to go. So let's try to make this a little bit more realistic here. Okay, so we have our destination. It still is inside the no sail zone. But let's say there's like a channel or there's a reef. And you're having to basically sail up this channel. So you can't sail on either side. There's reef. Here we are on a beam reach. Let me clean this up quick. So let's say you're right here, you're kind of on a beam reach, your sail's halfway in and halfway out, and I give you that destination. Okay, is that destination inside or outside the no sail zone? It's inside the no sail zone. So first thing we have to do is what? We have to find close hauled. You start to turn your boat upwind. You're turning towards your destination, you're turning towards your destination, you're sheeting your sails in, you're sheeting your sails in. As soon as your telltales start to stream backwards, right there, that's close hauled. Perfect. Your sails are in all the way. You found close hauled. You're sailing upwind. You're sailing upwind. We're going to run aground. We're going to run into the rocks. What do? We tack. We tack. And when we tack, we know because the no sail zone is 90 degrees, the boat is going to tack, or we want the boat to tack, 90 degrees. You come up here. We're going to run aground. What do? We tack 90 degrees. Now I'm sailing over here. Am I ever going to get to my destination? No. All right, it looks like I'm going to run aground again. What do? I tack again. 90 degrees. I'm making forward progress towards my goal. All right, am I going to get to my destination? Nope. But now, okay, I'm at 90 degrees. I go past it a little bit. I tack again. And now I can get to where I want to go. So once you find close hauled, you're going to stay close hauled. And you're just basically going to tack as much as you need to until you get to where you want to go. That's kind of a generalization. I'm not going to get into, in this lesson, like the tactics of, okay, when exactly do we want to tack to be as efficient as possible? I'm just trying to give us an overview of sailing theory and points of sail. So we find close hauled, we stay close hauled. You basically tack as much as you need to until you can get to where you want to go.